It is now my pleasure to introduce you to our 56th Annual Achievement Night honoree, Tim Jones. Perseverance in Action.
My name is Timothy Jones, 45 years old, stroke survivor. I had a stroke back in 2008, April 11th, and I've been fighting back every day since.
My name is Hattie G. Jones. I'm the mother of Timothy Washington Jones. When I first heard of his situation, I was at home, and he was living by himself in an apartment. And he was on his way to work, or he was getting ready to go to work. And he said he didn't feel his hands holding anything. He was supposed to be holding a toothbrush or whatever else he uses to take care of himself. And he didn't feel anything. He felt a numbness. And so he got to the point where he was really disturbed, so he called 911. And they came and took him to the hospital, and when he got to the hospital, he was really in serious condition. The next morning, I went to the hospital, and he was almost lifeless. They had to operate on him. They had to move part of his skull so that his brain had room to expand. And he didn't know me. He was unconscious of anything. And I said, oh my Lord, I'm going to lose another son.
I was on a ventilator, and so from there, I went to Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital. Was in Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital for a couple months, probably about 3 or 4 months. I heard about fighting back through Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital. One of the physical therapists gave me a pamphlet. I came up, I got wheeled in, talked to Ron. He said, your trainer will be Steve Tarter, but you'll see him, you can't miss him. We've been working together ever since about 2 years. Fighting Back was a very unique program that when I mentioned it to other physical therapists and other people, they've never heard of it, but then when they describe it, they smile and their mouth opens up because they say, wow, that's a very unique program made for specifically people with brain and spinal cord injuries that you can't get in other places. As time passed, now I come in independently, I walk in and walk out with no cane or anything. So I don't even bring my wheelchair to Fighting Back anymore.
He came in a wheelchair, and we gradually got to practicing sitting and standing, and eventually he had this big old quad cane. It was the biggest one I ever saw, a really big piece of hardware for, a big guy, so it makes sense. He also had this big, heavy metal brace. They both looked like from yesteryear. But I guess he just needed that exaggerated size. So we worked with the quad cane, and then slowly he had a single cane, and then started to just hold my arm. And one of the days we were walking by a treadmill, and it was being used by someone else, and he was just in awe that this guy was just walking on it, and he wished he could do it. And I said, Tim, we've been practicing for a little while here on the ground, on the floor, so give it a shot, what can you lose? So we got him on it, and he was able to do it for maybe 15, 20 seconds at the slowest speed, and really excited about that. And we built on it from there, and he slowly got more comfortable and wouldn't be pressed at first. He was like white-knuckled, holding on, really tense and flexing, and his arm would get sore before his legs, and he learned to relax, and we work up to 10 minutes, so or 12 even, I think, and at a faster speed as well, working it up a couple notches. So really came a long way on this treadmill. He was very hesitant, didn't want to fall, and which I understand because he'd go down hard. He's big, so it was really huge to break through that mental barrier, because he was a former athlete, and as we talked and I got to know him, I could see that in him. It's just his injury to the one side really was working against him, and it got into his head. So that fear we had to work through, and we slowly did.
Now, before I had this stroke, I was a social worker for Volunteers of America doing foster care and adoption. I've been a social work case manager for about 20 years.
It's tough on Tim because he was an athlete at a pretty elite level, and that all was taken from him, and he has memories of that. So I know that he's determined to try to get back as much as he can of that, and I feel for him, and I see his abilities, both physically, his inner strength mentally, and his determination to try to regain anything he can.
He's a good patient. He was a good patient. Even though he's my son, he was a good patient. He still is. He's a wonderful person. Even though I say it myself, he's a wonderful person.
Steve Taughter, Tim's trainer, asked me to say a few words of some remarks that Steve has prepared. Big Tim Jones, our gentle giant. With a good Lord sense of humor, his mom stands 1.5 feet south of him. He was conceived with one good eye that sees better than many with two. The other was traded in for glass. Tim was born to play football. In 7th grade, he was 6 feet tall and weighed 165 pounds. After a stellar career at Radnor High School, he was recruited to play at Shippensburg, sprouting to 6'3", 235. But Tim was not just a jock. When injury cut his college football career short, he refocused his energy on a degree in social work. Upon graduation, Tim worked making a difference with at-risk boys, troubled families, and most recently working as a caseworker for Volunteers of America involved in foster care and adoptions. After his stroke, he had a long road of sweat and toil in front of him. I met him in a wheelchair with a look of uncertainty, but that would soon change. With time and hard work, he came out of that chair. Tim is just a great guy. He has a wicked sense of humor and is very easygoing. If I want to try something different, he says, it's cool. He is a good soldier. He has shown great courage in overcoming his fear of falling, allowing me to expose him to countless ways of challenging that. He's demonstrated the desire to push ahead, as seen when one day another person was weight training really hard, and Tim became quiet and emotional. He said, I used to be able to do that. After a pep talk, the subject never arose again. His perseverance is undeniable too. In spite of the many challenges that could stop him, he kept at it. What struck me most was Tim's improved attitude. He went from I can't to I can. Yes, Tim reconnected to the courage, desire, and perseverance that was always inside of him. Tim represents that opportunity for all of us to find that fight and to use it. I present to you Tim Jones.
I just want to say thank you to a few people. First off, I just want to thank God for giving me the strength to make it back this far. When I first went to the hospital, they said I wasn't supposed to make it. But thankful for God, thank my mother, and thanks for this program, giving me the strength and fortitude to make it back this far. I want to thank the trainers, thank Steve and Scott for creating such a program for people in such a unique situation. This program made a big change in my life right now. And just for me to get them couple steps was a major accomplishment. And thank you very much.